Welcome to Steph's Foodie Finds. A little food, a little wellness. Listen in and experience a podcast where food and personal development come together. Now, here's your host, Stephanie Magsino.
Hey, listeners. Thank you once again for joining me today on another episode of Steph's Foodie Finds. Today's episode will revolve around your questions on dating and relationships, and of course, a little bit of foodie fun at the end. My guest today is one of my foodie friends right here in Connecticut. Toddecooks is a website that functions mostly through his Instagram, which highlights easy-to-make food for breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner. The purpose is to show people that cooking does not have to be difficult or intimidating. It's something that anyone can really do as long as you have the patience for it. He's recently expanded beyond just cooking to showcase other local cooks, food photographers, and local restaurants right here in Connecticut. So please welcome my guest today, Toddecooks. I'm going to bring him in.
Hey, Steph.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How are you? How's your day? How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for being here and joining us on my podcast. I'm super excited and very grateful that you're here.
Of course. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
So let's get right to the hot topic, which is we're going to essentially just address all of the questions that our listeners have come up with about dating and relationships. So I'm just going to dive right in with all their questions, and then let's get to our cereal battle. How does that sound?
I'm excited.
Okay, cool. Okay, question number 1. What is the best part about being in a relationship?
The best part about being in a relationship. So to me, in my experience, the best part of being in a relationship would be the companionship. So there are life experiences that you go through by yourself, but it's just a little bit better to me when you're going through those life experiences with someone else as opposed to just doing them yourself. I'm a little cliched in the fact that I like to think of like growing old with someone, having kids with somebody, and just having somebody who always has your back and is loyal and honest to the bitter end. Also, I would just love having a companion because they help you be the best version of yourself, and they can see things in you that you necessarily don't see for yourself.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you are a romantic at heart, though, Todd. Yeah, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I love that you're telling me that you find that having a best friend in someone is actually really the best part, and them finding a best friend in you is probably true, right? Am I getting to it?
Well, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So for me, when I think about the best part about relationships in general, they really have to do with the connection you have with that other person. So, like you said, being able to have that companionship, but really the fundamental core of that would be the connection you have with someone, not just on the physical aspect, but just the emotional and mental aspect. Being able to basically be yourself, not be judged, be respectful of each other, be mindful of each other's views, and being vulnerable and open to that person, and vice versa. You don't have to tiptoe around that person, and being yourself is actually more than enough. And I feel like that's the core of it. Does that kind of resonate?
I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you. And when you say you have to like tiptoe around things, I want to say that Oh, this is so embarrassing. But at the end of most of my relationships, I want to say that it got to the point where you were sort of like walking on eggshells around them because you don't, because I'm not really a confrontational person. So
Mhm.
so I like to sit down and talk things out. But some of the ex girlfriends I've had, they're more, let's just say they're more screamers. So when I think
Okay.
they're like to the point where there's things that need to be addressed, I would kind of have to walk on eggshells because I'm like, oh my gosh, here goes another argument. I don't want to, and it's just
Right. You're trying to avoid.
exactly.
And makes sense
Yeah,
because your personality is obviously you don't like confrontation. And I think that goes back to what we were both saying that if you could openly speak to someone without having judgment, without having to walk on eggshells, feeling like you have to tiptoe around your true feelings, I feel like that says a lot about the type of relationship you have with that person. Um, but there's got to be, there's got to be a way where people can all be kind of aware of that. I think it's just a matter of the time and place. If you're in the right time and place and mental space to actually be aware of how you're thinking and your reaction and how you're responding to someone, because not everybody really sees that at the beginning or even at the end. Some people are just so in their own world.
right, right.
Yeah. Okay. So, question number 2. Where are all the good men?
I
Yes,
could be
that's an actual question.
the one. Where
Yeah.
are all the good men? I know that everybody wishes that I'm going to be the one that has like the answer to this. Oh, all the good men, they're actually in the grocery store at church. There, I answered
Or
it.
at church or both.
Well, they go to the grocery store, they go to church, then they go to the grocery store after. Just kidding.
Okay.
So I want to say this one is actually very hard to answer because believe it or not, the good men are actually can a lot of the times can be in the same place as where you find the bad men. It's just everybody has different personalities, everybody has different ways of approaching things. So but also in that respects, it's obviously hard to spot good guys because unfortunately we don't live in a perfect world. People lie, men lie, women lie. So it could be to the point where you really get to, and I've had a lot of friends who've had all of these stories.
Hmm.
They meet a guy on like Bumble, or they meet a friend through a friend, or they meet a guy wherever. They start to get to know him. He seems like a good guy. This is not about me, by the way. Just want to make that clear. I probably should have said that in the beginning. They meet a
No judgment either way. Come
yeah,
on now. This is an open forum.
I'll just make it short. We're in a judgment-free zone, right? No, but yeah, they meet this guy, and he's good all the way up until things happen, and then for one reason or another, he ghosts them. So it's you don't want to be, you kind of do have to be on guard. But the good guy, I assure women that good guys are out there. Maybe that's not the answer that you wanted to hear. You wanted to hear specifics, but there are good guys out there. You just have to really just you do have to give people a chance, but you also have to be on your guard because there are also guys out there with ulterior motives.
Okay, so I have to piggyback off of what you're saying. So I do think it's a really loaded question, pun intended. But it's also insinuating that there aren't any good men. Like the way that question sounds to me is that woman has lost so much hope in the male species.
Right.
I just think it's pretty inaccurate. It just tells me that she's had a lot of bad experiences and probably jaded from a lot of disappointment from experiences with men who haven't really met expectations.
Right.
But we live in a world where it's all about dating apps. Nobody goes to a bar anymore to just hang out and like spontaneously meet someone anymore.
Oh, I wish
It
the
just
girl of my dreams.
that's like yeah, that I mean
That's
I'm
awful.
yeah. But unfortunately, because we live in this world where we're just on dating apps or, internet dating, there's still so many. I mean, even before then, the last 15 years or so, um, there were still jerks. There were still a-holes. There were still
Out there.
people who were players and narcissists out
Right.
there that most single people had to weed out regardless. So it's kind of just brought to light at the forefront that there just are so many, but I don't think it's really changed. I think it's just a different generation of having, instant gratification of seeing someone physically available, right? Because you can swipe left or right. It's just a different method of getting to the same thing in some way. But I really think it has to come down to understanding not every person you encounter or have a first date with or that you have a hookup with will be the right match. That only happens in fairy tales, Hallmark movies, all of that. That's not realistic. What's realistic is that knowing that you're walking into a dumpster fire and a dumpster fire within a dumpster fire. And it's not trying to shed negative light. It's just that you have to be aware that you have to kind of take it in stride. It's easy to feel discouraged and it's easy to lose hope when you have experienced so many bad dates or people, ghosting or people even catfishing. I know so many people that experience both, one or the other or both. It just means that I think people need more time. It means you have to be a little bit more patient. I know that saying, there's so many fish in the sea and all that, blah, blah, blah. In some way, it kind of is true. You think about the dating pool, that's all the fish, right? Dating pool on these dating apps, that's all the fish. If you reel one in and you reel a fish in and it's too stinky for you or they got too many things going on, guess what? What do? You throw it back in, right? You throw it back in and you throw back your hook, line, and sinker and hope that you catch a better fish next time. And that's my advice is work on yourself, work on yourself, continue to put yourself out there. And if there's a bad fish, maybe there's going to be 10, maybe there's going to be 20, who knows? Keep throwing the bad fish back in. Just hope you don't catch the same bad fish back,
Exactly. But
and I feel like that's, you like that analogy?
But also when you catch that bad fish that you're talking about, learn from it. Don't make the same mistake. You see, if you're going for the same guys that are always assholes, don't sit here.
Red flag.
Oh, where are all the guys at when you're looking for the same exact type of person?
Yeah.
Switch it up.
I think you actually bring in another really important topic of having a type. We're going to segue a little bit now. I'm just going to go with this. But don't you feel like because it's so easy to swipe left and right that people start to look homogenous? And you start to, in your mind, maybe even subconsciously, you don't even know who the hell you're swiping left or right to at some point. You're just going by the 5 words on their profile and, all their selfies or whatever they're posting, posts of, them and their pet or them in front of some statue, How much can you really tell from that until you actually engage in real conversation with them? So I feel like we're living in a world where we're just making so many assumptions based on 5 pictures or less, 5 words or less. And does that really mean that person is going to be, your Hallmark ending? Probably not. There's got to be a lot more depth because we're just kind of selling ourselves short, I think, by putting ourselves in this small package that's supposed to identify us as a whole when really there's just so much more, I think, to all of us, whether you're an a-hole or not, okay? Because really it's how you're packaging yourself. So if you are seeing a pattern, why you're thinking, where are all the good men? Maybe you got to think about working on yourself. Well, why am I running into all these really awful guys who are narcissistic or jerks or womanizers? And, I just think that says more about the person who's dating the people that are like that versus the people themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I think that goes both ways, not just women. It's also men. Where are all the good women, right? You could probably say that, right? Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. So, I'm kidding, by the way, anybody who I've dated who's watching this now.
No judgment.
I've met tons of great women who have dated and things just didn't work out for one reason or another. But
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's totally okay.
cool.
Okay, let me keep going with my questions. Number 3. We're only up to number 3.
I know, right? I'm having a great time.
Is loyalty important during the talking stage?
That is a great question, and I've actually have been in a situation like this, and I've actually discussed this with a couple of my friends. So loyalty is important to me during a talking stage when it has been openly discussed. I'll actually do. I'll say a little story here. So there was a woman that I had dated. We had gone on, I'm going to call it 2.5 dates, because the third one was actually just, it was like an event and it was all of our friends. It wasn't really a date
Okay.
date. So it was like it was like a friends type thing where all of our mutual friends were there. But at the end of that, we hung out another time, not a date, and we started discussing that part of loyalty. And she was like, well, I'm not seeing anybody else. I'll never see anybody else, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I get that. But at this point in time, and it's been like 2.5 weeks, like not a very long time at all. So at that, she was asking, when the topic came up, she was like, I see you laughing.
I just want to interject, Todd. Is this like stage 5 clinger?
I'm not going to call it that.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to keep my thoughts to myself.
Open forum, Steph. Open forum.
It is my open forum, so
So she was adamantly, she disagreed on how I viewed dating, and I disagreed on how she viewed dating. She was basically like, okay, we've gone on a date. As soon as we go on that one date, boom, I'm not seeing anybody else. She wanted to basically, from there, remain exclusive, but also it was kind of up in the air of whether we had a title or not. With that saying, in my head, I'm like, it's only been 2.5 weeks. I'm still single. Now, with my self-appointed nice guy title, I want to say I wasn't. How many minutes are we? Okay, so I want to say out there, I wasn't out here like fucking all these chicks and stuff. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not that type of guy. But was I going out on dates? Yes. Was I taking women out to dinner? Yes. Was I having a first kiss on the first date? Yes. Was I kissing other women? Yes. But was I going out and sleeping with all these chicks? No, absolutely not. But to say that we have been dating for 2 weeks and no, absolutely not, you should not be seeing anybody else, because I was still single.
I'm not. I listen. Let me breathe. Let me breathe.
I can just hear the comments right now.
It's okay. This makes really for good airtime, and I have a lot of single friends that I'm sure will be chiming in and DMing.
Oh,
no, as you were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off with my heavy breathing.
But ultimately, unfortunately, although me and this young lady got along great, things had to end because we couldn't see eye to eye on that. But I don't have any hate for her. Still have love for her. She's a great person. I think she's actually in a relationship now, but that worked out for her. And there was actually a time where we actually had met up with other friends, because we're sort of like we're like in the same, without giving names or anything, we're in the same like somewhat community. Okay. So when we saw each other at an event, we actually had time to talk it out. And she was just like, listen, you're a cool person. I like you as a person. It's just we didn't see eye to eye during that one thing. Unfortunately, we didn't work out. And I was like, agreed.
Okay.
So loyalty is important, but as long as you discuss it, as long as
sounds like it has to be mutual. Yeah. Boom. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So for me, I do agree with what you're saying, but I think loyalty is kind of in line with trust. So when you're dating someone new, it's kind of like you give a little, I give a little. You can't accept right away. You can't just assume and accept that it's there instantaneously. Right. So I feel like it should be open to the idea of having loyalty and trust there, but it's more of you show me and I'll show you a little. And it doesn't even matter if you're straight or gay or bi, whatever your sexual preference and orientation is. And I think that just goes along with saying that it's more of a human issue. It's more of a people thing, right? Even relationships with work. Oh, we can go all about that. Another episode, not today. So work, family, friends, frenemies, right? I mean, we could go on and on, but it really has to do with people letting a little bit of vulnerability to one another of saying, okay, I'm going to extend a finger. You extend a finger. Okay, now a hand,
Yeah.
the other hand, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's how I would look at loyalty when you are first dating someone. It can't be all rushed. So that's all I have to say about that. Question number 4. How do you truly know when you're in love with a person? Oh, goodness.
Oh, jeez.
This is good. Yeah.
So, in my experience, I knew that I was truly in love with a person. I just want to say this. So, I've been in love twice in my entire life. And this applies to both of the women that I had dated and I was in love with. I'm not even going to use the air quotes because that'd be kind of disrespectful, but that I was in love with. So I would say that you would know that you were in love with a person when you absolutely cannot imagine living the rest of your life without them. You take them at their worst, you take them at their best, you take them for their good qualities, and you take them for their bad qualities. With all that, even when they have whatever bad quality it is, and I'm just spitballing here, if they're a messy person and you're a clean person and you see towels on the ground or garbage not everywhere, but you see garbage some places, you just kind of learn, although you try to help, you still kind of learn to live with it a little because you know that you still care about that person, you still love that person, and you're not going to like go off on them and scream on them.
I am nodding my head profusely in the air right now, like a bobblehead, as you say this. Yes, yeah. What you're trying to really tell me is like you overlook some of the things that you may have not necessarily overlooked if you didn't really truly love them.
Right. So you wake up, you think about them, you fall asleep, you think about them, they're on your mind all the time. You cannot imagine living your life unless that person was in it.
So it kind of tells me that it's not just, I mean, if I can even say, it's not just the physical aspect of it, of the infatuation. I mean, that's where I feel it is. Like, initially, it always feels like infatuation when you're in love with someone. It's it's the chemistry and the physicality. You're like physically like drawn to someone, and you just want to jump their bones all the time. But that's like I feel like I know it's funny, but at the same time, like looking back, and because I was married for almost 7 years, I was with someone for 10 years in general. Like after that, I've been divorced now for almost 6 years. Looking back at that relationship and all the other relationships I've had before the marriage and after, the divorce, I've kind of come to this conclusion that, that I'm sure you've known and seen and heard about that crazy hot matrix, that meme where it's like this professor showing like this grid on like this graph, like the crazier the person, the hotter she is or he is, right? Okay, so when I think of that, I think of that's like your first initial reaction to someone. If you are really infatuated with them, the chemistry is so high. It's like level like 15 out of 10. And a lot of times we mistaken that for being in love with someone. And that's really just not being in love with someone. That's part of it. The chemistry and physicality is part of it, but it's not everything. And so what I'm trying to get at is that you have to have a really great combination. And in my mind and in my experience, there are 3 C's in life when it comes to this. It's chemistry, connection, and compatibility. And every couple, gay, straight, whatever your orientation and your preferences, when it comes to relationships and finding that right partner, it's really the ratio of the three C's. Everyone's different. And so it's like, I know for me, compatibility and connection is like a hair more important than chemistry, because you need all three, but it's just all different levels and ratios for every different couple. So my ratio might be 50 30 20, right? But someone else might be 70%, 10%, 20%, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a match. Somehow in this world, you got to find your ratio to be in line with someone else's ratio, right? And then you throw that into the dumpster fire of dating apps, right? Yeah. So if you think about it that way, exponentially and ratio wise and all of that, statistics wise, it's just so much more challenging to find someone who's right for you. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means we got to weed out all the bad fish.
Yeah.
And my bad fish might be different from your bad fish. It's so subjective. But at the core of everything, I feel like we all want the same thing. We want to be in love. We want to have long-term sustainable relationships if you're not crazy and you're not, just a player. Okay. No judgment there. If that's what you want to do and you don't want to commit to someone, do you, boo, because there are people who want that too.
I wanted to actually say it. Yeah. And I'm definitely not hating on people who have that lifestyle, who like to go out, who are players, who like to go out and they're just looking for the physical. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as you find somebody who also is looking for that physical aspect only. They're not looking for a relationship. As long as those wires don't get crossed, that's completely perfect. We're all consenting adults. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do.
I think people are afraid to be upfront and honest about that. I notice that like people hide behind a mask, not COVID mask, but you know what I'm talking about. But like, right. And I feel like if people were just much more honest and explicit about their expectations, hey boo, I'm just looking to get a good lay. That's all I'm looking for. Hey, there's nothing wrong. If someone said that and someone else said, ew, gross, ill, whatever, then it's not a good thing. Obviously you're not a match. If someone's like, oh really? What hotel? Tell me. Where are we meeting? Where are we going? Then that's a match. I can't speak for everybody, but that's how I'm seeing this. Like, if that's where you are in your life and that's how you feel you want to live your life, hey, you do you, boo. If you don't feel that's right for you, then don't entertain anybody that doesn't have anything to do with your expectations for yourself and what you want for yourself. Because this is where I feel like this is where they F up. This is where they F up. People latch on to, oh my God, this person looks like this XYZ on a checklist. Okay, I got this good, but this one quality is throwing them all off. But somehow they linger and they stay. And then they're like, oh my gosh, where are all the good women? Where are all the good men? But really, that means you are hanging on to someone else's potential. You're not hanging on to the reality of who they really are. So who's the problem here? It means you're not reading the red flags. It means you're not stepping away when you see the red flags. And everyone's red flags are different. And so only you know intuitively what's right for you. And you're the only person that can really hold yourself accountable in any relationship. If you're not speaking up, that there's an issue here. That means you need to do some self-work, right?
There's actually a good quote about red flags that I always seem to remember.
Please share.
I don't know if you know do you know the show on Netflix, BoJack Horseman? It's sort of like
but it sounds interesting. It's
like a cartoon show about this horse who was once an actor, and then just his trials and tribulations as he goes through life. People kind of like some people are kind of like turned off to it because it's a cartoon, but it actually goes through like a lot of like real shit, like depression and anxiety and being suicidal and being addicted to drugs. But I digress. It's actually a very, very good show, and I recommend people to watch it. But one of the quotes from one of the characters, and I really hope I get it correctly, it's about taking accountability. It's just, when you look through the world in rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think we need another episode. That's what I really think. We just have so much to cover. We're going on tangents for every question. We're only at question 4. So I'm just going to go back to this. So the point being, how do you truly know when you're in love with a person? You need all those factors: connection, chemistry, compatibility in the right ratio with that other person. And that's going to take time. And then it's, of course, the butterfly.
Hey, we there?
Hey. Did we just lose each other?
We did.
Okay. I think we're okay. It says we're still recording. So I think I don't know. It was so bizarre. We just disconnected.
Yeah.
The mishaps of podcasting. We're good.
Yeah,
we're good. Anyway, so as I was saying, so the connection, chemistry, compatibility, and having that right ratio is super, super important. Other than that, the butterflies and everything, that's always the initial, right? That's the initial piece, but it's not everything. And I think you need so much more to sustain the in love.
And it's great that you say that. And I won't go off on too much of a
It's okay.
But, again, I won't say their name. We keep the names private. But there was a woman that I had dated recently, who I was actually in New Orleans. If some people follow me on Toddecooks on my Instagram, I actually did a whole vlogging thing when I was in New Orleans, and I noticed that somebody was commenting back and forth on everything. Well, maybe not every single thing, but a couple things that I posted, and she was like, "Oh, I've never been to New Orleans." I was just telling her we were going back and messaging and everything, and then I looked at her pictures and looked at her profile. I was like, "Oh my God, this woman is beautiful." So I sent her a message, and I'm just like, "Hey, would you like to go out for a drink?" Surprisingly, she said yes. I hate when I say it to my wife, but she said yes. We went out on a couple of dates, but I think, unfortunately, it did not end up working out. But I think it was just the butterflies. I was just kind of head over heels, and it's and she's not a bad person at all. She's actually a very great person. We're actually still friends, even after just the 2 days. But just you don't notice other things when you're kind of blinded to other things when you have those butterflies in the stomach and you're head over heels. And
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
That just takes experience, though, right? To actually experience what that feels like and having that level of awareness after the fact, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 5. Why do relationships tend to go stale?
Oh my gosh. Why do relationships tend to go stale? I like to think that relationships tend to go stale because what had attracted the two parties in the first place is no longer present. So I'm trying to think of a good example, though. So if there was something that attracted both of you guys, both of the women, both of the guys, both of the parties, and that connection that held you guys apart just dissipates, then from there, the relationship's not going to be stable anymore. But also, that's a hard question.
Are you stumped?
A little, but I'm just trying to think, because I've definitely had relationships where I've been in them for a while and it feels like it's gone stale, but then there's always something that can be done to sort of liven up, put the fire back in the relationship, whether it's trying different things or taking a trip or.
I see where you're going with this. So I feel like when people feel that their relationships kind of hit a plateau.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a few things. People aren't communicating. You're not really communicating what's making you happy and unhappy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You get complacent, meaning to say you get lazy to try. You stop dating your partner, male or female. You just stop dating your partner. You become part of a routine. The relationship becomes a routine. And so from what I've heard from people that have been married many, 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 many years, and people that have been divorced and remarried, all of them still say the same answer, which is you still need time to date your partner, whether there's kids already involved or not. You have to make time to date your partner, even if you're married 20, 30, 40, 50 years in. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that you are still putting effort. You're still making the effort to get to know that person, because you at 25, let's say if you hypothetically got married at 25, you're a very different person at 35, 45, 55, and so forth. So you attempting to date your partner in every stage of your lives, you're basically dating a new version of that person. Whether or not your routine is the same or not, that doesn't matter. That person still has evolved over time. And that goes for men and women. And that's probably when I go out in West Hartford and all of these restaurants and I meet all of these people, just randomly strangers, and I ask them for this kind of advice. What's your take on relationships, and what's your take on what makes a lasting relationship? Even if you're not married, you're just long-term partners. And they say you have to date your significant other throughout your whole time being with them. Otherwise, it will go stale. It will become complacent. We all have lives. We all have jobs. We all have families for most of us. So it becomes monotonous. And if you don't take yourself out of that to actually have a reset and refresh to reconnect, because reconnecting with your partner is part of the big 3 C's, you kind of lose sight of what it meant to be in the relationship in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Oh my gosh.
It's a fully loaded answer. Okay. So number 6, why can't men think with their brains and not the heads in their pants?
Oh, right. So
Yep. Someone really worded it that way.
I mean, valid question, because like we said, you run up into all types of people on dating apps and in the real world and at the bar and at the club and at the church, I guess. Wherever else you're gonna meet people, but it's just the men that's more in tune with the type of man that you're running into. They're the type of man that isn't interested in what we had talked about before, the companionship or a relationship. That's something that they're not really interested in. They're just interested more in just fucking.
Yeah, just
really
the physical aspect of it. Okay. I think,
yep.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's just that's their interest. Unfortunately, I feel like they reel in women who are vulnerable, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's just, most women are looking for Mr. Right. And maybe sometimes these men sell themselves to be Mr. Right, and then it ends up just being a hookup, or they just want to make sure that they have someone to put on their black book. Okay, this is my Monday girl and this is my Friday girl. I don't know. I'm just making this up. But I can imagine that guys like this, and maybe there are women like this. I can't speak for them, but I'm assuming there are all different types of people that can maybe relate to this. If that's your agenda and that's what brings you joy in some way and you don't want to change, it probably means that the people that aren't looking for just a hookup probably need to start reading red flags. Here we go again with red flags. Start reading into red flags better, quicker, so that they don't get emotionally attached and they have a way out quicker. Because I feel like if you see the red flags quicker, you're more prone to leaving a situation than
Right.
staying in it for weeks, months, years, and then
Or
be
you
like,
get
oh
hurt.
my gosh, where am I? Why am I in this now?
Yeah.
And it means that you have to hold yourself accountable.
Right.
Yes, we know that some people don't like to change, but if you're fully aware of that, then that means it's you who has the responsibility to yourself to walk away, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, sometimes the sex can be great with someone and that's what's making you hang on to them. You got good D. Okay, fine, so be it, right? But you know what you're getting yourself into. That should be it. There should be no expectations of holding on to that person's potential of being more than just good D. No? Yes?
I agree, but sadly, there's just some people out there I know that they're holding on to. Like, I have friends who are holding on to a specific guy. They're in that specific situation where they're holding on to a guy for good deed, but also because they just need some sort of companionship because they don't see anybody else out there. They're not, and they're just holding on to this one person who treats them like shit. Who just
right. So like I said, right. It's gotta be you to hold yourself accountable to like walking away, because you enabling that is just showing them that it's okay to treat you like crap.
Exactly.
Right. So even if it was good D and you had great sex, if you can walk away from it, right? Walk away and it won't mean anything tomorrow and you won't be emotionally attached and wondering potential or wondering anything, right?
Right.
Then, hey, do you, boo? That's great.
Right.
But if you are lingering and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on not knowing that you're missing out on someone who's great right in front of you, or, that to me is a missed opportunity. You just lost out because you didn't read the red flags quick enough to walk away from a toxic situation, right?
Right. And if you're the type of person, you're holding on to this person, but eventually or down the road or closer, you want kids, you want marriage, you want companionship, you want somebody to move in with you, you want somebody to grow old. Why are you holding on to this person just because they're flinging good dick? I can't believe I just said that.
I refrained. You didn't. Okay, so next question. Why can't people in relationships take accountability for their actions? I think we've been leading up to this.
Yeah, I think we talked a little about that before. It kind of gives to their selfish personality that they're thinking more just about me, and they're not thinking about the what the other partner wants or needs. Relationships should be in that regards 50-50. And you basically just have to both give up 50%. You have to just make sure that you're doing and practicing the 3 C's that you said before.
Yeah. I agree. I think it has to do with selfishness and just lack of respect or regard for other people's boundaries, pretty much.
Right.
Okay. Question number 8. We're almost there.
Okay.
Why do men and women feel the need they have to lie about all the little things?
Oh my God.
Clearly, this person has experienced a lot of this.
Lying about little things, that definitely speaks to insecurities. About just insecurities about them that they just don't, or things that they don't. Well, I guess that does count as insecurities, just things that they don't like about themselves. It's a very, very far back example, but one example I always remember is thinking back to my first girlfriend, so my first ex. I was driving her everywhere, and she was constantly saying that her car was that she drove this nice Jeep, and that her car was constantly in the shop. And I'm just like, after a while, I'm like, okay, it's been like 4 months. Why is your car still?
Where's right? Okay.
Listen, I was like 19. I was like, why is your car still?
And in love. Okay. Okay. Or you thought you were at that point.
I was not.
Yeah.
You didn't hear that. No. And it just, after a while, she just had this insecurity about her not having a car. She had a license. Like, it was so stupid. I'm like, and I had to tell her, I was like, ex-girlfriend, it's not a big deal. Like, that you don't have to lie about little things. How are we supposed to do well in our communication if you're lying about little things? Because little things can lead to big things. You just
right. Yeah. I think so lying, when I think about that, it's kind of a defense mechanism for people.
Right.
It's a learned behavior, a learned defense mechanism, because you're trying to protect yourself in the most. So you're trying to protect yourself, right? If you're the one lying, you're trying to protect your integrity, but you're kind of defeating the whole purpose of having integrity by lying. So I feel like it's a learned mechanism, and sometimes it comes from people normalizing using that as a defense mechanism after a traumatic experience, or how they were brought up, or whatever it is in their childhood leading up to how they are as an adult, and they normalize lying as part of just like it's like it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with lying. And I feel like it's their way to cope with their own faults and make light of a situation. So it makes them feel better that, oh yeah, oh no, don't worry about it. No, no, no. And they're, having that take on it, it kind of gives them that ego push, because like you said, most of them are insecure people who, insistently and consistently lie, are insecure. So I feel like them using that as a defense mechanism is really to cover up their own faults and make light of their situation at that point. That means they need therapy, FYI. Yes, a therapist would be very, very, very important. Okay, absolutely. Here we are at, Todd, believe it or not, at our last question from listeners. Here we go. Yay! Okay. Do you think that being involved in dating apps will, in fact, realistically lead to a long-term relationship like marriage?
I am going to answer this with absolutely.
Okay.
I know a lot of us have friends that I think all of us who have friends that are not in a relationship right now, if they're not currently on a dating app, they've tried a dating app at some point. And we all know somebody, and I'm not even just talking about just the commercials that we see on like eharmony.com and stuff like that. We've known people who have met through apps that have led to successful relationships. I think I know I have one or two friends who are couples who have gotten married, but I've known like several others who have met on dating apps and they've been together. But it's changed the way we meet people. It's changing with the times, and it's whether you want to hold on to those old times from before, which is fine, or whether you want to move forward, which is also fine.
Yeah.
Because while, yes, you are more likely to meet more people on a dating app, let's just say once COVID calms down a little, you still can go out. Well, I mean, you can't right now, but we're not talking about that. You still can go out to the clubs and bars, and you can, if that's your scene and that's the way you like meeting people, you definitely still can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I believe that I could meet my potential person on a dating app. I've had a couple of relationships through the dating apps. Unfortunately, they didn't work out, but I've also but all those, they've actually turned out to be good friends, which is not very weird. It's actually cool. Maybe it speaks more to our personalities that meshed, but yeah, I definitely think that if you choose to go that route of meeting a potential dating partner through a dating app, go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to agree. I actually know personally 2 women one in their 30s and one in their 40s, who actually, after many failed dating attempts, whether it was through apps or not, they actually met their forever partners through dating apps. And they're both very happily married now with awesome partners. And I just think it's just truly a matter of trial and error, throwing back a lot of bad fish back into the sea, and then reeling them back in to see if you got a new fish, and having patience to continue to put yourself out there, and while you put yourself out there is to actually really continue to work on you for yourself.
Right.
Because at the same time, you're learning about your boundaries, you're recognizing red flags, and so forth. So I feel like that is a great way to kind of segue.
Woo.
Yay. Yeah, we made it through. It through all the questions. Let's segue to what we really want to get to right now, which is our cereal battle. So we decided top three cereals, and we're just going to chit chat a little bit about it. And I'm going to let you take it away. Todd, you first.
So the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with, like you said, it's top three. We're going to start from the third, then second, then first. So I am going to start with my third favorite. I actually have the boxes right here. Oh, we're doing milk as well, right?
Well, it's up to you. I only have 1 gallon of a specific type of milk to go with all of this because I'm a little lactose intolerant.
Listen, I'm very allergic to dairy. All my family knows. They make fun of me all the time about it. Shout out to the Grants, the Grant family group chat that constantly makes. Oh, so my mom's maiden name's Grant. My last name's Hessen. But they constantly make jokes all the time about me not eating cheese and
it sucks.
Eating food. And hey, I live. I mean, I've had to live with
I
my
love
entire
cheese.
life.
Yeah,
I'm fine. I do other things. It's okay. So, do you want to do a reveal of our third favorite?
Okay, you go first, and then I'm gonna pop up my. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do it like this. Very, very odd. My third favorite is Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I'm in shock. How dare you? Number 3?
Oh, hell yes,
Really?
number 3. Listen, it's
all right.
Listen, it's the
Number 3 for me is Cookie Crisp.
Cookie Crisp.
Cookie Crisp. It's like Cookie Crisp. It's like having mini Chips Ahoy, and you don't even need milk. You can eat this right out of the box.
So I'm gonna have to go ahead and disagree with you. Eat it out of the box with no milk.
No, you don't need it because I used to bring this as a snack on the bus as a kid. Put it in a little sandwich bag. Yep. Yeah. This is a go-to for me. Okay, so your CTC, your Cinnamon Toast Crunch for number 3, and I am Cookie Crisp for number 3.
If I could say one thing, I don't like how they changed the mascot on Cookie Crisp. Didn't it used to be like a robber person?
Yes, and the box was white.
Yeah, and now it's a wolf. Who are you?
Yes, I think they wanted to make sure they were projecting a good image. So, and I guess instead of a criminal, they wanted to put a wolf of some sort, or coyote.
This is the time where I bet somebody would say, "This is a soft society. Where's society going? Where we can't."
Well, the 80s and late, early 90s was a different time. Everything has to be a lot more, politically correct.
Which is a good thing. I'm all for it.
Okay. We're ready for number 2?
I am ready for
number
2.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting mine too.
Are you going to go first? Do you want to switch
off?
No.
You're gonna go, and I want to see where we're at here. You kind of got you already got a glimpse of mine.
Here's number 2.
Oh my God! Really?
Reese's.
Yes, I'm a sucker for peanut butter and chocolate. I love the combo.
I respect it.
Yeah. Really, Honey Nut Cheerios. That is going OG. Because
this is when I really truly realized I'm becoming an adult. I'm becoming an adult. I'm like, you know what, Todd? You're grown. You're grown. Get yourself some HNC. I don't think anybody calls it HNC, but get yourself some HNC.
No.
Cheerios. They taste great. They come in other flavors, and I do love those other flavors. I love the frosted one, the apple cinnamon one, and there's another one too that I like as well. But Honey Nut Cheerios.
So what you're telling me is you're a Cheerio whore.
I am. I'm pouring all around the Cheerios.
Okay. Yeah, Reese's Puffs for me. Like I said, I love chocolate and I love peanut butter, and I like the combo of the two, and you can't convince me otherwise. I will say this. If I'm feeling down in the dumps, this is what I reach for.
The Reese's Puff cereal?
Yeah.
Well, not the actual Reese's Puff, just the Reese's Puff cereal.
The cereal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's a funny thing that I read like right before we started this. I mean, it doesn't have to do with the cereal, but Reese's Puff, apparently the Reese's Puff, and I mean, not the Reese's Puff, but the Reese's candy in the United States, they come with 2, right?
Yeah.
They come with 3 in the pack, 2 in the pack?
2.
They come with 2 in the pack, and they're called Reese's, so they have the apostrophe S, but in Canada, they're called Reese, and they come with 3.
Yes, you're right.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's funny. I can probably confirm that with my relatives in Canada. They live in Toronto and in Montreal. So I will confirm to make sure that is accurate. I will fact check you. Now we're getting to be like one of those political news
Exactly.
channels. I'm gonna fact check you. Okay. All right, last one. Okay, because we're at number 1. Okay.
Okay.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm a little in shock, but at the same time, I feel like because cereal is so subjective and we have so much nostalgia attached to cereal because we are a generation that lived off of cereal. I mean, we're 80s babies, right? And we lived
every morning.
Yeah. Or even after school. I mean, my number 1 spot is my after school snack after, coming home at 3-4 o'clock and watching cartoons. Animaniacs, Batman. Yes, on Fox. Yeah. See? Animaniacs, Batman. Yeah. That was like the golden hour after school.
Cartoons.
Yes. Okay. Ready? Okay. Reveal.
Okay. Can I get a drum roll, please?
Okay. You first. Oh God, there goes my mic. I was banging a little too hard.
Phrasing.
Okay, so Todd has Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles
is my number 1 favorite. You eat the entire thing, you'll be in a sugar coma for like 12 days. It's always been my favorite. It's delicious. I actually had to pour myself a bowl.
You did? Is it soggy already though?
It's soggy as shit.
And you're still eating it. That's awesome. Oh my God. That's what you call commitment. I like the commitment. I like your commitment to this. Okay. So mine is ready. Okay. You don't need a drum roll because we don't need falling microphones.
Okay.
Mine is actually your number 3. CTC, baby. CTC. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Hashtag CTC. I'm making this shit up now. Yeah. CTC is my number 1. I will tell you, this has brought me through good and bad times throughout my entire childhood. There were days where I'd be like, Mom, don't pack me lunch. I just want a whole, sandwich bag filled of CTC, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They did kind of change the box a little bit, I think. I can only find it in the larger size at the grocery that I go to. So I don't know if that's like a marketing ploy, but
mine was a smaller one. I think I got it at Walgreens though.
Okay.
And mine also has a scary guy on the back.
You too? Me too. Wow. We got emojis in the back of the cereal. Mine has the surprise face with like the gap in the teeth.
Mine has that.
Oh my goodness. Well, Todd, this has been awesome. It's been about apparently almost 58 minutes of us rolling and recording. Wow. So I just wanted to say, obviously, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been awesome having you speak on this episode of Steph's Foodie Finds. And I hope that we get to do this sometime soon again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I had it was great speaking to you. And
awesome.
It's actually my first podcast ever.
Well, there you go. There's always a first for everything. Hopefully not your last, for sure. Okay. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, everybody. So that on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Please make sure to follow my friend Todd on Instagram as Toddecooks. And I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. So until next time, bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to follow Steph's Foodie Finds on YouTube and be sure to hit like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode of Steph's Foodie Finds. Until next time, eat well and be well.